Let her go now! Stay back! Don't come any closer!
Please help me!
Put the knife down! You're surrounded! I said back off! Last chance! Let her go!
Fake HOA cop blocks a black girl from crossing a public road, claiming authority he never had, then pulls a knife on her when she refuses to back down. What he didn't know was that her father was already on the way, and nothing about that encounter would end the way he planned. On the far outskirts of town, where pavement thinned into gravel and streetlights stopped pretending to care, a black father and his daughter lived quietly by design. Raymond Knox had chosen the land for one reason: distance. Distance from noise, from rules made by people who liked power too much, and from the kind of neighborhoods that believed authority came from clipboards instead of law. He was a retired Navy SEAL, but no one around here needed to know that. To them, he was just a widowed father raising his daughter, Aaliyah Knox, in a small house backed by trees and open sky. Their property was not part of any homeowners association. It never had been. Pine Valley County land, public road, clear boundaries. Raymond Knox had checked everything twice before buying. Peace mattered more than convenience. Unfortunately, peace had a habit of attracting the wrong kind of attention. Less than half a mile away sat Maple Crest Estates, a tightly packed neighborhood with manicured lawns and an HOA that loved reminding people it existed. When Diane Whitfield became HOA president, things changed fast. New rules appeared weekly. Security patrols started cruising around, and when Diane Whitfield noticed Raymond Knox's house sitting just outside their borders, visible from the main road, she decided it was a problem that needed fixing. At first, she tried polite pressure, letters inviting him to voluntarily comply. Then came fines for violations that didn't exist, unapproved fencing, improper setbacks, even a notice accusing his teenage daughter of unauthorized use of community-adjacent walkways. Raymond Knox ignored every single one. Diane Whitfield didn't take rejection well. After that, the tone shifted. Threats replaced requests. Warnings became demands. She told neighbors Raymond Knox was uncooperative, dangerous, and eyesore. Eventually, she declared him an enemy of the community, someone who refused to respect order. Behind closed doors, she promised consequences. Raymond Knox stayed calm. He documented everything. He kept raising Aaliyah Knox the same way he always had, teaching her awareness, confidence, and when to stand her ground. That morning felt ordinary. Sun high, air still. Aaliyah Knox left the house for her usual walk along the public road that cut past Maple Crest Estates. She wore headphones and confidence, unaware that a black and white SUV idled nearby. Beside it, an HOA security officer opened his door and stepped out. He adjusted his vest, scanned the road, and smiled like someone who believed rules bent for him. Aaliyah Knox slowed, sensing eyes on her, as gravel crunched under his boots. The quiet broke, suddenly, without warning, anywhere. The HOA security officer stepped directly into Aaliyah Knox's path, forcing her to stop. He was tall, broad-shouldered, his uniform crisp in a way that felt more like costume than authority. A black SUV idled behind him, lights off, engine humming low like it was waiting for permission to misbehave. "You can't cross here," he said sharply, one hand raised as if stopping traffic. "You and your father aren't permitted under HOA rules." Aaliyah Knox blinked, confused for only a second before her instincts kicked in. "This is a public road," she replied calmly. "You can't tell me where I can walk." The man's jaw tightened. He hadn't expected pushback. He glanced around, saw no one else nearby, and took a step closer. "Watch your mouth," he snapped. "You don't get to challenge HOA authority." Aaliyah Knox didn't flinch. "Even the police can't do that without cause," she said. "And you're not police." That was when his expression changed. The polite mask slipped, replaced by something ugly. His voice rose, sharp and hostile. "You think you're smart? One more word and I'll remove you myself." The threat hung heavy in the air. Aaliyah Knox's heart began to race, but her hands stayed steady as she reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. She turned slightly away from him and dialed her father. The call connected instantly. "Dad," she said quickly, "there's an HOA cop here and he—" She never finished. The officer lunged forward and slapped the phone out of her hand, sending it skidding across the pavement. Before she could react, his arm wrapped around her neck from behind. Cold metal pressed against her throat as he pulled a knife halfway from his belt and locked it there. "Don't move," he hissed into her ear. You're under arrest for trespassing and challenging HOA authority." Aaliyah Knox froze. Her breath came shallow. She could feel the blade tremble slightly, close enough to bite skin. Fear surged, but beneath it was disbelief. This was real. This was happening. "Comply," he growled, "or this gets worse." Have you ever seen someone abuse fake authority so badly that they held a child at knife point? What would you do if that child was your daughter? Before we go further, what city or country are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. We love seeing where you're tuning in from. And if you believe no fake badge, no HOA title, and no self-appointed security has the right to put a blade to a child's throat, like this video and subscribe to Story Arc, because this story exposes exactly how dangerous fake authority can be. Unseen to him, the abandoned phone lay face up on the road. The call hadn't ended. On the other end, Raymond Knox heard everything. The raised voice, the threat, the sudden silence. He didn't hesitate. He grabbed his keys, his licensed pistol from the safe, and moved. By the time the HOA officer tightened his grip, confident and careless, Raymond Knox was already out the door, moving fast, too fast. And the quiet road that officer thought belonged to him was about to become something else entirely. Raymond Knox didn't run blindly. Training took over the second he reached the road. He moved with control, his licensed pistol already in his hand, finger indexed along the frame, eyes locked forward. He didn't have to search long. 20 yards ahead, he saw it. His daughter. A man behind her. A knife pressed tight against her throat. "Let her go." The command tore through the air, sharp and final. The HOA officer spun halfway, startled, dragging Aaliyah Knox tighter against his chest. The blade shifted, nicking skin just enough to draw fear, not blood. His eyes flicked to the gun, then back to Raymond Knox's face, disbelief mixing with anger. "You don't want to do this," the man barked. "I'm community security." Raymond Knox advanced one step. Calm. Measured. Dead serious. "You're holding a minor at knife point on a public road," Raymond Knox said. "Release her. Now." The man laughed, shaky and wrong. "You won't shoot." That was his mistake. Raymond Knox didn't raise his voice. He didn't argue. He adjusted his stance, sighted cleanly, and fired once. The shot cracked through the quiet road. The bullet struck the man's leg just above the knee. He screamed as his grip collapsed. The knife clattered onto the pavement, and Aaliyah Knox tore free, stumbling forward. Raymond Knox crossed the distance instantly, pulling Aaliyah Knox behind him, one arm wrapping her tight while the pistol stayed trained forward. "Are you hurt?" he asked. Aaliyah Knox shook her head, tears spilling now that she was free. "I'm okay." "Good," Raymond Knox said softly. "Call the police, now." She grabbed her phone from the ground with shaking hands and dialed as Raymond Knox kept his weapon aimed. The HOA officer writhed on the pavement, clutching his legs, screaming incoherently. "You shot a cop," he yelled. "You're finished. You're dead." "Stay still," Raymond Knox ordered. "Hands where I can see them." The man ignored him, crawling an inch forward. Raymond Knox adjusted his aim slightly downward, unwavering. That stopped him. Neighbors began appearing at the edges of the road. Doors opened, phones came out, whispers spread fast, sirens rose in the distance. The HOA officer's bravado drained as he realized what was happening. Blood soaked his pant leg. His authority was gone. His lies were collapsing. And then a familiar SUV screeched to a stop nearby. Diane Whitfield burst out of the driver's seat, face twisted with rage, pointing at Raymond Knox like she'd been waiting for this moment. "What did you do to my officer?" she screamed. Raymond Knox didn't look at her. He didn't have to. Everything she'd built was already falling apart. Police cruisers arrived fast, lights flashing, sirens cutting through the gathering crowd. Officers stepped out with hands raised, taking in the scene in seconds. The wounded man on the ground, the knife on the pavement, Raymond Knox standing firm with his pistol lowered but ready, and Aaliyah Knox shaking behind him. "Sir, set the weapon down," one officer said calmly. Raymond Knox complied immediately, placing the gun on the ground and stepping back. "My daughter was attacked," he said evenly. He held her at knife point. Diane Whitfield pushed forward, shrill and frantic. "That man shot community security," she shouted. "Arrest him now." The officers didn't rush. One of them recognized Raymond Knox instantly. "Mr. Knox," he said, nodding. "You were Special Forces, correct?" Raymond Knox nodded once. "Retired Navy SEAL, licensed firearm. I run a body camera whenever I draw." That changed everything. An officer retrieved the small camera from Raymond Knox's vest and reviewed the footage on the spot. The screen showed Aaliyah Knox blocked on the road. The threats, the knife pressed to her throat, clear, undeniable. The wounded HOA officer saw it too. Panic replaced anger. "She told me to do it," he blurted suddenly, pointing at Diane Whitfield. "She sent me. Said to target them, make their lives hell until they join the HOA." Diane Whitfield froze. "That's a lie," she snapped. "He's trying to save himself." But neighbors were already speaking up. Videos were being handed over. Statements overlapped. Patterns formed fast. Officers cuffed the HOA officer despite his protests. "You're under arrest for attempted kidnapping of a minor, assault with a deadly weapon, and impersonating authority," one officer said. Diane Whitfield tried to step back. "You can't. I'm the HOA president." An officer stopped her. "You're being detained pending investigation." By nightfall, the truth was complete. Financial records, emails, fake fines, orders traced directly back to Diane Whitfield. She had orchestrated the harassment from the beginning. Both were charged. The HOA officer was sentenced to prison for attempted abduction and aggravated assault. Diane Whitfield was convicted of conspiracy, abuse of power, and endangerment of a minor. Her presidency ended in handcuffs. Her authority vanished overnight. Maple Crest Estates HOA dissolved under investigation. On the quiet road again, Raymond Knox knelt beside Aaliyah Knox, holding her close. She leaned into him, breathing steady now. "Is it over?" she asked. "Yes," Raymond Knox said. "It's over." And the road, public, open, free, finally went quiet again. If you believe protecting your family is not aggression, not overreaction, and not negotiable, then smash that like button and subscribe to Story Arc.